Coming to get you, Bobber.
Freaky is a 2020 horror movie directed by Christopher Landon, and it stars Vince Vaughn, Catherine Newton and Celeste O'Connor. This is a brand new movie, guys, so I've decided to make this a spoiler-free review, so if you've not seen it, don't worry about it, you can still watch this review. After swapping bodies with a deranged serial killer, a young girl in her high school discovers that she has less than 24 hours before the change becomes permanent. I love the start of this movie. It was the traditional slasher movie beginning of a horror movie. You've got these teens, see, it looks like they're in the middle of nowhere, but they're in this girl's mansion and her parents are away, so they're all there alone. Some of them have sex. You should never have sex. So they broke the rules, and there's quite a few kills at the very beginning. Now the thing about the kills in this movie is they're very creative, they're very gruesome, and they're actually a joy to watch, but they're fun kills, and that's what this movie is. It's a fun movie. I love that they're killed off by a masked psychopath. They're killed off one by one in this mansion, and just like the beginning of the movie, most of the movie, if not all of the movie, is very fast paced. There's no dull moments in it at all. I can't remember what the backlot is called, but it looks like it was filmed where Back to the Future and The Midnight Hour was filmed. This is a body swap movie, and for a body swap movie to work, it has to be convincing. You have to have two roles for these people, and we don't get a lot of it at the very beginning, where we don't see any traits from the butcher. We don't know what he's like. All we know is that he kills people, but we've got to get the traits right with Millie, for example, because Millie, she bites her fingernails, for example, and she does a few things at the beginning of the movie. She's very quiet, she's very timid, and obviously we know that the butcher is a really bad guy. So for a body swap movie to work, we need to know roughly what they're about before the bodies swap over, and then when they swap over, the actors and the characters themselves have to be convincing in those roles. And I think that Millie and the butcher were great. When they swapped bodies, I was convinced that the butcher was in Millie's body, and I was also convinced the other way around as well. So I think that the body swap aspect of this film was great, and it was very convincing. When it comes to getting to know the two characters, we don't need to know a lot about the butcher. All we need to know is he's a killer, he's a psychopath, and we need to stop him. But with Millie, we don't need to know everything about her, but we need to know a bit about her for us to care about her. And I think we know an awful lot about her at the very beginning. We know that she gets bullied a lot. We know that she's quiet. We know that she's lost her father as well. So her mum has become a drunk. She doesn't really care about life. Her sister is the only one that's kind of keeping things together because she's one of the police officers in Blissfield. So it's a dysfunctional family that they have, all because of what happened to her dad a year ago. I think it was about a year ago he died. And we get that nice moment when she does the body swap with Vince Vaughn's character, the butcher, and he's in this changing stall talking to her mum. She obviously doesn't know who he is, but he's listening to her because the original Millie, when she is Millie, she doesn't talk to her mum about how she feels about losing her dad. Her mum doesn't speak to her about how she felt about losing her husband either. So we get this bond between the two characters, even though they don't know who each other are. So even though it's Vince Vaughn that's playing Millie, we know that it's Millie's character. We know that how Millie is feeling. So we do get behind Millie because we feel for her as a character. We feel for her because she gets bullied. We feel for her because of what happens in her personal life as well. So we get behind her character. Whether she's played by Vince Vaughn or Catherine Newton, we're still getting behind her character. I love the horror references in this film. There's probably too many for me to mention, but just for a few, for example, we've got the date. We've got Wednesday the 11th, Thursday the 12th, Friday the 13th. We've also got a hockey mask, just like Jason Voorhees. We've got Strode on the back of one of the jerseys in the football game. That's obviously a nod to Laurie Strode. We've got the butcher's head tilt, which is also reminiscent of Michael Myers. When the parents came home at the beginning of the movie, when everybody was killed in the mansion, it reminded me of the Beckers when they came back from when Casey Becker died at the beginning of Scream. So it's got a little bit of Scream in it as well.
Well, if she does, I'm gonna fucking...
One of my favourite nods, and it was really funny, was when the butcher, or sorry, Millie, had to wear a mask that was kind of like a Captain Kirk mask, but somebody else. And they were pointing out the fact that it would be hard for a killer or anyone to walk about with this mask on. He was banging into shopping trolleys. I think that was really funny. A funny nod towards the Michael Myers character, albeit when they did use the Michael Myers mask, they cut the holes a little bit wider so that the character and the actor could see in the original Halloween, but we get the point. It is a Blumhouse movie, so we get the Halloween 2018 vibe to it with the way the movie is structured, but we also get an obvious Happy Death Day vibe to it as well, with Christopher Landon directing the movie. It felt more of a comedy than a horror movie. It had horror elements to it, but it was overall a comedy movie, so although it has the Halloween aspect to it, it felt more along the lines of a Happy Death Day movie. Something I have to point out, which is what I think they've done great for this movie, was it doesn't take itself too seriously, but there are horror movies out there, even comedy horrors, that don't take themselves seriously and end up being a joke of a movie. But with this, it doesn't take itself seriously, but it doesn't make itself a spoof of the genre either, and that's very important because you want to make fun of the genre but not be classed as a spoof, and that's what this is. It's a movie that doesn't take itself seriously. It is a horror movie, but it is a serious movie at the same time. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil anything, guys, but I would be up for a sequel. From what we see what happens at the end of the movie, I would be completely up for a sequel. There might be some people who have seen the movie and watching my review thinking, how can there be a sequel? We'll leave that just now, but I do believe there could potentially be a sequel with some of the things that happen throughout the movie, but that's just my opinion, but no spoilers, guys. Overall, guys, I think this was one of the best movies of the year. Not only one of the best horror movies of the year, one of the best movies of the year. I've not seen that many horror movies, or I've not seen that many movies in 2020 because of what's happening with the pandemic, but I genuinely believe this is one of the best movies of the year. Very surprising as well. When I watched the trailers for the film, I thought this looks really good and I was excited to see it, but sometimes when you watch a trailer for a movie that looks so good, you're maybe not disappointed at the end, but you're probably thinking the trailer shows all the best bits, but it doesn't. The trailer doesn't give anything away. It doesn't show anywhere near the best bits of the movie. I was pleasantly surprised by Freaky, so if you haven't seen this movie, guys, I highly recommend it. As always, guys, thanks a lot for watching again. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.